I'll just mention as I get started here today, I've got a radio program in just about 10 minutes, so this will be brief. But I've been reading all the arguments over the course of the last couple of days about what should happen when it comes to the president nominating a replacement for Ruth Bader Meinhof to the Supreme Court of the United States. I understand the liberal arguments, but Bader Meinhof herself said a few years ago someone should go ahead and do this. And just because she supposedly told one of her daughters that she didn't want this to happen this time around if she was going to die this year, that does not necessarily, that's not precedent. There's nothing in the Constitution that says if a justice dies and says beforehand, I don't want my seat filled right away, that you can't fill it. So let's leave it at that. And then all of the, well, you did this and you did that, and all of these things that keep coming up in the midst of all of this, let's drop all of that. The Democrats have been threatening for months anyway to pack the court with 11, 13, or 15 justices to get what they want because they can't get it over the will of the American people. We obviously recognize that. Republicans have made a lot of promises. They made promises on Obamacare, said they were going to repeal it. They didn't. And now they've got their backs to the wall because, again, they have been saying that they would do their best to eventually get a Supreme Court that would find a case that would overturn Roe v. Wade. Here we are, nearly 50 years later, and we're still waiting. So it's my hope the president comes out with a nomination. I would lean toward this Amy Coney Barrett, but it seems there's a couple of other really good potential candidates as well. That does not mean you'll necessarily get what you want. Most of the justices of the last 50 years have been appointed by Republican presidents, and nothing has budged when it comes to Roe. So we all understand that. I'm a believer right now that this is the time when you've got to strike. I actually think President Trump can win re-election. I think there's a lot of folks out there who are voting for him who aren't saying they're going to be voting for him. But if he doesn't, and you can at least get Barrett or someone along Barrett her lines on the court now, that would be a good thing because these justices will shape policy for decades and decades to come. As far as Ginsburg, all of these people who say you can't speak ill of the dead, it used to be when someone who was politically polarizing died, they got about a week's grace. Richard Nixon got a week's grace, and liberals just hated him because he was such an anti-communist during his early years in politics. But when Ronald Reagan died back in the summer of 2004, no such thing happened. And I remember reading a liberal columnist who said that was because there was so much at stake in the 2004 election praising Reagan. Liberals worried that if they had anything nice to say about him during that week, that could boomerang and John Kerry could lose the election, which he did anyway. Polling data, by the way, had said that Kerry was going to win with 311, I think it was, electoral votes on election day, and liberal friends were sending that to me. The next morning, I had a really good time replying to all of their messages. But this is the time to move forward. And when it comes to Ruth Bader Meinhof, I realize criticizing her is considered to be unseemly because, well, she was a nice woman and she and Scalia, they got along fine. However, 70 million babies have died since Roe. If you are doing nothing to stop it, and in fact you support it, then you've got blood on your hands. Politicians out there who say, well, I'm pro-life, but they don't really mean it. You understand? Even a lot of Republicans say that. Nobody, though, is really willing to go ahead with this. I often make the analogy, if you believe that's a life, and they will tell you it is, a life in the womb, how about if somebody drove by a school and started shooting at a bunch of children on the playground? Would you call a committee together and study that? Would you allow the courts to debate for several decades on how we should deal with it? Or would you stop it and stop it now? And that's where Republicans have to grow a set. And people like Ruth Bader Meinhof, she was nothing but a roadblock when it came to this. So indeed, yes, there's blood on the hands of American liberals, and specifically those who stood athwart the effort to try and stop it. Got to run. If you like our videos, click on the subscribe button. You can also leave some comments in the comments section below. And we hope to see you all on our regular radio programs too as well. I host a program Monday through Friday on KLIX Radio in Twin Falls, Idaho. You can check that out online as well. There's a way to listen across the live stream on our website, as well as download my radio station's app for your smartphone. You can listen there too.